For more awesome content, head to ystech.org, link in the description. What can you do if you're strapped for cash and you just can't build a PC? My recommendation would be to do half secondhand and half brand new or fully secondhand. Now I know some of you guys don't like the idea of making a whole secondhand PC, so to mitigate some of that risk, we can put it together with some brand new parts. Now, what I've done here is not necessarily the best thing you can do, but I think it would make you guys feel a little bit more secure. And what I've done here is I've put together a list at the bottom of the Prebuilt for October, and I've put some of the cheapest gaming PCs from each PC retailer. Now these are all from the gaming category, and I think this would be a great example of showing you guys which you can choose to semi-upgrade or even upgrade in the future. Now I will do a little bit of a comparison between all of them, not a comparison to the very October DIY PC build that you can make at the top here, but these will be compared to each other and we will find the best option. So the best option is bolded here, you can already see that, but let's go ahead and compare them. So we'll start off with Computer Lounge, and the Computer Lounge one is the Mercenary GTX 1050 Ti PC. It comes with an i5-10400F processor, which is great, a stock Intel cooler, an Asus Prime B460, which is great, a 16 gigs to 8 gig sticks of DDR4 2666, perfectly fine from Gigabyte. The SSD again is the Kingston A400, which I probably wouldn't recommend. Comes with the GTX 1050 Ti mini 4GB model. Now I wouldn't even recommend a 1050 Ti at all, especially at this price point, and I will show you guys later why. Yeah, it's not that great, especially for this price. Now, I want to give you guys a small example right now. A similar PC that I built in 2017, of course the processor wasn't as good. It's the Ryzen 5 1500X in 2017. I built with a 1050 Ti. Only cost me $1,150. So, you know, this is even increased in price since then. So, that's really not good. For the graphics card as well, the 1050 Ti I can definitely say can play esports titles pretty well. It does struggle quite a lot on AAA titles, so do be aware of that if you guys are planning to play games like Call of Duty Warzone or things like even Assassin's Creed and those series. But on things like Fortnite at 1080p low medium, you should be fine. You should be getting pretty decent frames. But yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend it at this price. It's just too expensive, but if you guys want to go for it, there's nothing wrong with that. The Deepcool Matrix 50 is the case, so it does have a little bit of front airflow here with intake on the side. Would have been better to see a front mesh, but that's fine. Comes with 4 fans here, which is great, so 1, 2, 3 and 4 on the back, so that's cool as well. It comes with a Silverstone ET500. It's a little bit of a weak power supply. It's one of the cheapest you can get, but in my personal experience, I actually have one, and I haven't had any issues with it just yet. So it's cheap, but this PC is cheap, quote unquote cheap, as a whole. But it's not too bad of a PC. It comes with a 2-year warranty, and it comes with that good Computer Lounge customer service. Now, I wouldn't say it's the best out of any of these, but it's something to think about. From PBTech, they've got the PBTech Intel upgrade box, 14507, and at its normal price is 918. It's currently on special for 891, and it comes with a i5-10400, which is pretty good, similar to the other one from Computer Lounge. It comes with an assumed stock Intel cooler. Can't necessarily confirm that, sorry. Comes with an H510 motherboard, so not as good as the B460 one from Computer Lounge, but that's fine. Comes with a single stick of 16 gigs of 2666 DDR4 RAM. I would have preferred 2 8 gig sticks, but you know, it's not too bad for the price. Comes with a 480 gig SSD, so I can't say anything in terms of brand. Doesn't come with a hard drive. It doesn't come with a graphics card, and the reason I chose this one is because it didn't come with a graphics card. It comes with a Cooler Master mini tower. It has a little bit of intake here. I think it only comes with 1 fan, so that's a little bit of a downside. And it comes with a 500 watt power supply. It also comes with a 1-year warranty. So, you know, honestly, for the price, it's the cheapest, and it has a very decent processor for the money, and it comes with decent specs. So this would be my pick for the cheapest gaming PCs, and the reason why is because you can slap a graphics card in it and you should be running fine. So let's head over to PCForce, and they've got the budget gaming PC, Ryzen 5 5600G with a stock AMD cooler. And yeah, this is actually a really good processor. It's a 5600G, it's very, very new, and it comes with integrated graphics. It has an MSI B450 board, would have been good to see B550. Comes with 16 gigs of DDR4, no specs given. A 500 gig SSD, and it comes with the Antec VSK 4000B case with 500 watt power supply. The Antec power supply. So overall, actually not too bad. It's $1,299, but it has no graphics card per se, no dedicated graphics card. It has that integrated one with a processor. I would highly recommend you guys actually check that out on YouTube, the benchmarks for the 5600G, and it's in terms of its performance and specifications, I believe performs a little bit worse, if not a lot worse, than the 1050 Ti. So I mean, it's not too bad for like esports titles. AAA titles will definitely struggle, considering it's worse than the 1050 Ti that already struggles in AAA titles. But things like League of Legends, Rocket League, Valorant, it should do okay. Now I can't vouch for it. I don't personally have it, don't have any experience with it, but it is okay. Now, of course, you try to put a dedicated graphics card in later. You can go for a second-hand one if you want to, but it should do well for a few games, esports titles, but not a recommendation for a graphics card as such. But something to think about. It's a very powerful processor. But yeah, so let's head over to the one from MightyApe. This is the Mini Kong gaming PC for $1,049. It comes with an Athlon 3000G, very, very weak processor, to be honest with you guys. I assume it has an AMD stock cooler. It comes with a BioStar A320, so a little bit of an older board from AMD. It comes with 2 sticks of 4 gigs of 2666 Kingston HyperX Fury, so not the greatest. And, well, not the greatest, I say, but I actually have 2400 in my PC right now, so you're not going to be struggling that much, to be honest. But 8 gigs is a little bit low. I think 16 gigs is the way to go on most budget PCs, to be honest. Comes with a 240 gig SSD, a little bit subpar, and it comes with a BioStar RX 550 2 gig model. Now, this graphics card can play, I saw benchmarks on it for, I think, low Fortnite at 1080p, and it was able to reach like 100 frames, or like the esports graphics setting, so it isn't that great. And for its price, I wouldn't recommend it, considering that the PBTech one, yeah, if you just spend a little bit extra, you might be able to get something better. $4,049, I know it's an attractive price, and it's a fully built gaming PC. Is it somewhere to start? I don't know, because the specs on it is just not that great. It's not really something to upgrade as such. It's just something to use and then get rid of in a few years. I just say that because of the founding specs you get. It's like a BioStar A320 board. It's a little bit old, and it's BioStar. The graphics card isn't that great. It's something you can replace though, but you know, if you're spending this type of money, you want something a little bit better. And yeah, the case is the Zymatech NYX ARGB. I've never seen this case, never heard of it before. Seems to have some sort of airflow. Of course, it's just tempered glass everywhere. It looks cool. I don't know in terms of its performance though, but that's fine. Case is not too much of an issue, and it's a 500 watt power supply with a 2-year warranty. So, you know, I don't know why they've put like such weak specs on this PC, considering that's $1,049. You know, I'd probably put something a wee bit better, considering that PBTech managed to pull it off with a i5-10400F for $918. You know, if they took out that RX 550, and it still wouldn't even be that great a PC, they'd be selling this PC right now let's say minus $250 off this PC, so $800 exactly, and it has a worse processor than the Intel one. So this one I'd probably stay away from personally. I'm not ripping on MightyApe. It's just that I would encourage them to look at better options and better value for the customer. I don't think they've taken that into consideration, and it looks like they're trying to gain as maximum profit here as possible. It's a bit of a shame, but it is their cheapest PC as far as I know. So let's go over to PlayTech now. So PlayTech, I've got the PlayTech Samurai Silver Gaming PC. It's $1,399. Has an i3-10100F. I believe it has a aftermarket air cooler, so it's the one from Deepcool. It's okay from what I've seen. I actually wanted to buy one myself, but I ended up going on an AIO instead. But that's nice to see an aftermarket air cooler for once. It comes with an Intel H510 motherboard, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, nothing to specs or anything like that, a 500 gig SSD, a 1 terabyte hard drive until the 22nd of November. Damn, that just passed. It's 24th today. And a GTX 1050 Ti 4GB model. As I said, it's not too bad. It's okay. And I assume this case is the DP301 RGB Micro ATX case with a little bit of that mesh front panel. So it's the one I saw from PCForce in another video. So that's the one for the pre-built PCs. These are the cheapest pre-built PCs. I don't know if I'm going to attach this video on to that one or make it a separate one. I believe I'll make it a separate video. And, it's technically a front mesh airflow panel, so that's good. And it doesn't say what type of power supply it has, which is really weird. I wish they put that in. And the warranty period, I'm not sure as well, so that's something to find out. Now, it's an okay PC. I just feel like the one from Computer Lounge for a $100 extra, you get a better processor, like quite a bit better processor compared to this i3 one. You get the i5. I think that's worth it for $100, but it's not too bad in terms of its specs overall. So my recommendation, what should you do if you're in this situation? What I would suggest is getting this PC right here, is getting the PBTech Intel upgrade box for $918 at normal price. The reason I say that is because you can slap a second-hand graphics card in it. So if you want to do that option, then this would be the best, and I will address which graphics cards you should buy in a second. But if you don't want to touch anything to do with second-hand gear whatsoever and you want to get the cheapest possible, then out of all of them, for what I would choose, would be the Mercenary GTX 1050 Ti PC from Computer Lounge. I think it beats out the one from PlayTech by $100, but that $100 difference is a lot in a CPU. I mean, you're getting a 6-core CPU, which is great on the i5, and the i3, not as great. So I think for $100 extra is best, so $1,500 total. Now, it isn't the greatest PC, and as I said before, for $1,150, you can build the same PC in 2017, so prices have gone up. But I think out of all of these, if you didn't want to touch secondhand, you just want to buy brand new, but the cheapest thing you can get, I'd probably go for this one as a whole. And now this one as well from PCForce isn't too bad if you're considering you want a even better processor, so a Ryzen 5 5600G. That's even better. And if you can abide by your time on the Vega 7 graphics, which is pretty bad, it's not too bad, it's alright, and put a graphics card in later if you want to, that wouldn't be too bad as well for $1,299. But overall, I think this one takes the cake for being the best of the best in terms of its specs, its performance, and what it's offering for its price. I know it's the most expensive, which is kind of ironic, but I think it's a little bit better than the one you get from PlayTech. So let's go over to some graphics card recommendations now for the PBTech upgrade box. So the first two cards we've got here are the RX 570 and the GTX 1060. So the RX 570 and the GTX 1060, I think you should try and get these cards for below about $340 to $350. I think you're pushing it if you're gonna buy it for a bit more than that. Honestly, I think a good price point would be 300, but 340, like 350 max. So these are kind of similar performing cards, although the RX 570 does seem to perform better in some newer games from what I've seen in benchmarks. But yeah, it might be harder to get a RX 570 compared to a 1060. The 1060, try and get the 6 gig model. That should be good. This guy's overpaying 420. I think that's a bit much for this card. I know it's a bit of a bear market at the moment, but make sure you try and get these cards for under 340, I'd say maximum. I don't think it's worth it to pay more for it for these cards. So GTX 1060 and RX 570, two first recommendations. Next on the list, I've got the RX 580, the 980 Ti, and the 980. So the RX 580 is actually a very well-performing card. It's very, very good, and it's done very well with numerous driver updates. I used to have one at the start of this year until I sold mine, but it's a very good card, and I think it's actually worth it for, I'd say, anywhere below $520. I know that's actually quite a lot for this card, but it's actually a very good card, and it's a little bit newer. So you can see 500 here. That's really pushing it. Max I personally would pay for it is 490, but if you can push it to 520, maybe that should be fine. But yeah, just take into consideration $520. The RX 6600s that just came out, the cheapest ones you could get were around $650 brand new. So do keep that in consideration and don't overpay for these cards. Again, I'd say 520, but personally I'd say anything under 490 for these cards. Would I pay that price for myself? Absolutely not. 490 is really absurd. Yeah, for myself, for an RX 580, that's kind of ridiculous for the performance it's offering. But at the same time, if you want to slap a secondhand graphics card in there, you should be fine. For the GTX 980 Ti, now personally, I managed to get a deal on my 980 Ti. As you can see, there's none available right now. The GTX 980 as well. The 980 Ti and the 980, I'd say don't pay anything more than $380 for it. Because you will have to do some restoration work on it. You will have to clean it out the dust and probably replace the thermal pads and thermal paste. So if you're not willing to do that, probably avoid this choice. But I do have to say it's actually not too bad a card for what it is. Now to slap it in this one, you would need to upgrade the power supply, so it probably wouldn't be the best option, but I'm just wanted to give you guys like a rough idea of what to do. The 980 Ti is very power hungry. It could take up to 300 watts on its own. I've seen mine one reach some absurd things like 200 watts when it's on load, so quite a bit. But the 980 Ti and 980 are pretty decent. So probably not to put it in the PBTech one, but I just wanted to give you guys a rough idea. If you guys want to put this card in, you need to upgrade this power supply to like I'd probably say it's a minimum 600, 700 watt power supply. So this one's 500 watts. So yeah, probably not for this card, but it's something to keep in mind because it's the same performance, if not a little bit better than the RX 580, and it's cheaper, only $380. And lastly, I've got the GTX 1070. So I would not pay anything more than about $570 for this card, considering that the RX 6600 that just came out are around $650 was the cheapest. So, you know, it's kind of pushing it for a second-hand card. It's a little bit older as well. I mean, all these cards are relatively old now. But yeah, this you can see this one, $560 on auction. Not that great. I'd probably say anything about $570. And personally, what I would pay as my maximum is probably about $550. It is a more powerful card than the RX 580. But, you know, at the same time, it's a hard choice. So let's go ahead and get the calculator out here and see what we can do. So 500 watt on a 1070 or 1070 Ti should be fine. Now let's get the price here. So 918 plus we said 570 maximum for a GTX 1070, and we come to $1,488. Now that's a very similar price to the one we saw from Computer Lounge, and it's got better specs. The graphics card at least has got better specs, and it's a similar price. So if you guys want to go half DIY, half brand new, then this would be a great option. And it'd be able to sit on this 500 watt power supply quite nicely. Also, please don't overclock on this build. Don't overclock. I'm not taking that into consideration, which is why I'd say the 500 watt power supply is perfectly fine. You should be fine. I don't even think you can overclock this CPU in any case, but don't try to overclock your graphics card either, because your power supply is not capable of it on this power supply that they put in here. But overall, now let's think of some stuff to ask as questions. Alright, so I've got some questions that you can ask a second-hand graphics card seller. So these are very important to ask before you purchase a graphics card. Now, if you can think of any others, make sure you write them down in the description so I can add them to the list here. And as well, please do your own due diligence before you buy a graphics card. These are just baseline things I think I should recommend you guys to ask. So first of all, is the graphics card fully functioning and working? Now I think this is important, as some people aren't forthcoming about what they are selling, especially on TradeMe sometimes. So what you can do is just ask straight out, is it fully functioning and working? So that will cover your butt. Second of all, has your graphics card ever been used to mine Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other type of cryptocurrency? Now this is very important, as you shouldn't really buy a graphics card that's been mined on, because generally they've been used a lot more and they're more able to break in the future, like they're more susceptible to problems. So I wouldn't recommend buying a card that's been mined on. So just for your information, if they do say yes, probably avoid that one, even if it's at a good price. I personally wouldn't take that risk. Have you ever overclocked your graphics card? Now, if they do say yes, ask what settings they use, for example, in MSI Afterburner, and you can search up a little bit about overclock settings on MSI Afterburner and how it works. Jace2Cents has some really good videos on it, but yeah, I usually avoid ones that have been overclocked, because some people do some crazy stuff sometimes, but it's generally a little bit hard to damage a card when overclocking if you know what you're doing, but some people do go a little bit silly. Fourth on the list, what did you use your graphics card for? What did you guys use it for? So did you use it for studying? Did you use it for gaming? What types of games did you play? Did you use it in a work environment, such as for just working in an office, or did you use it for 3D graphics? Those are things you want to find out. So I think that's important, because it shows what type of user it was and how much the graphics card has been used. Fifth on the list, how long did you use the graphics card for? So how long did they have it for? Like, did they use it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? That's really important to know. Sixth on the list, did you buy it brand new or secondhand? I think it's important to understand if it's brand new or secondhand, because if it's brand new, then there's less likely a chance of things going wrong. If it's secondhand, then you will be the third owner of that graphics card, so there could be more things that could potentially go wrong. But usually for myself, that's not too much of a deterrent of buying a graphics card if it is secondhand and it's being sold again as secondhand. That should be fine. Just something to keep in mind. Seventh on the list, is the graphics card artifacting, as in with weird lines on it when you're running in Windows, for example, the operating system, or in a game? So artifacting is like when lines on the screen pop up, not from the screen being broken, but actually from the graphics card not displaying on the screen properly, and that's a symptom of a dying graphics card. So absolutely stay away from one if it's artifacting. If they say, oh yeah, there's some weird 3D effect on the screen that's caused by the graphics card, stay away from it. And also ask, is the graphics card crashing? Does it crash? Has it ever crashed? Does a black screen out? Does a blue screen, etc.? So that will cover yourself. And eighth on the list on TradeMe, ask, can you do ping payment? Ping payment will cover you if the graphics card arrives dead. And yeah, if they don't, that should be fine. I've bought graphics cards before without ping payment, but I have made sure that the graphics card's working and in good condition. And yeah, so those are things to look out for. And physically on a graphics card, let's find this GTX 1070. Physically look through the photos, see if there's any rust on it. That's an indication of it being used a lot or not being put in the right environment. If it has a lot of dust in it, it's probably not been taken care of too well. If just things look shoddy on it, then I'd probably avoid it, because some people don't take care of their computers, even though the graphics cards inside sometimes they get really used up. But a good graphics card, this one looks pretty decent. You know, the fans look well taken care of, or at least they took care to clean it before they took photos. And the backplate looks alright, a little bit of scuff marks here and there. And this here looks pretty clean as well, the bracket. So all of these questions you can ask right here. If you click ask a question, you just gotta log on. And I think that sums it up for this part of the video as well. So I think this will be a separate video, but thank you guys very much for watching. This has been the cheapest pre-builts that you can buy with some recommendations and graphics cards. Make sure you can check out wisetech.org for latest post reviews and much more. See you guys there at wisetech.org. But other than that, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.